Hello, welcome back to another review on Josh Does Movies here. We're coming into a movie that I wasn't sure if I was going to watch. I really like the previews of it. It has a decent Rotten Tomato score right now, sitting in the 90%. Belle, a Japanese animated anime movie by Marumo Hosata. Kind of telling a different story, but very inspired by Beauty and the Beast. It came out last year during the Cannes Films Festival, but it only released here in North America over the weekend. So for me, this is a 2022 release. It's going to go on my 22 rating systems, and I'm going to tell you all about my personal opinions, feelings about this movie, Belle. The first thing I gotta say was I kind of want to preface this is I went in and I watched the Japanese version of the movie subtitled in one of my local theater. Coming out of shows like Squid Game, things, the movies like Parasite, I've come accustomed to just when it comes to foreign language films, I would always recommend people if you're good reading subtitles, please watch these movies in subtitled form because it matches the mouth audio to the actual sound that's coming out. It isn't too hard to read the vision, the actual words themselves, and I personally sometimes feel it can enhance parts of the movie. In fact, even for English shows, a lot of times on Netflix or Disney Plus, Hulu, HBO Max, wherever, I kind of like to put subtitles on sometimes for those because you can get little things out of them. And I think you can kind of, sometimes when you're reading it, your mind really thinks about it more and puts it into a little bit deeper of a way. So I personally know even I know they offered it into a subbed form, a dubbed form where you had English people speaking the roles, but I did not want to go that way. I personally wanted to see this movie as it was intended to be made, with that Japanese structure as well as the English subtitles. And I have to admit, it was probably a great choice by me. Belle takes you into this like close by, but maybe a little bit in the future society where they have this social media app called You, which basically you almost scan yourself, some characteristics inside, like your who you think you are and stuff, and it puts you into this virtual world where the movie's sake there's 5 billion people in there, and it lets you be whoever you want to be. It kind of allows you to be yourself. Um, and in the beginning part of this movie, when you're going through the U and the main character Suzu, um, who is Suzu in real life, but is the augmented individual Belle in the U world, going through kind of her backstory, her everyday life. Who are the people she's friends with? Who are the people in her school? What connections they have to her? What's it like being Belle, and what does that what that means to her? Could feel kind of slow, and it takes its time. But I think by for me, with the where the movie went, it was time well spent. If you didn't take those moments to really understand Suzu's character and the tragic things that happened to her family, starting off with what her as a kid with her mother, in a very kind of sad backstory, and how that really affected her in life up to this point, and what Belle meant to her as a person, I don't think this movie will have as good of a payoff near the end with how it turns, where it goes, and the messages it sends. To be straightforward, this movie is kind of bringing up some of the good parts and the bad parts of social media. You have the toxic type of outside, behavior of people yelling and cheering and yelling, and they really go and and show it as Belle. When Suzu goes into this world and creates Belle. She's finding herself a singing voice that she has never been able to have for years, and it attracts so many people out there, both positives, and I love how the director and the movie chose to show the negatives of it too. How just as easy as it is to listen to all the people cheering and loving you, for some of these people, especially teenagers or young people, the negative stuff does get to you, and it will get to you, and sometimes you might focus on that rather than maybe the things you're doing positive wise. Um, next to Suzu is her best friend Hiroka, or mainly Hiro, in the movie, and she's kind of the one that helps introduce Suzu to the U. Really helps push Belle's character in the first act of the movie out in that U and gaining popularity and stuff like that. I thought she was like, I think one thing about this movie is it shows that the people you're friends with in high school aren't always going to be the best people overall. In the movie, I was thinking like, man, this isn't really a good friend to have. But I kind of went back and thinking how like when you're in high school, you're kind of friends with the people you're close to, and they're not always going to be the best smart people, and they might care about you, and that might be a good connection you have, but they have flaws just like every person does, and they're going to do things that are selfish and make mistakes sometimes. And I thought Hero, Suzu's friend, did a really good job of that, and I personally really loved where that went. Um, though Other people that were pretty positive is you had kind of the class sweetheart, the class darling, uh, Ruka, um, as well as the kind of klutzy little canoe loving Kamishin, and a childhood friend of Suzu who became quite the popular jock in their school, but clearly still has some connection to Suzu and Shinobu. Uh, I am probably pronouncing these names horribly wrong. I know I just watched it in the theater. I tried my best to practice the pronunciations as I came in the movie, but I probably am failing there. But either way, what these minor little like details that were brought up in the very beginning of the movie and it kind of went away a little bit in the middle, really came out strong in the end. When this movie slides from its second act into the third act is when this movie takes off and becomes something truly magnificent. Um, in the middle of all these connections, in the world of the U, Belle comes across this character called the Dragon. He's very beast-like, and this is where you get into the second act of the movie. You get into this Beauty and the Beast inspired motive, where Belle, who I love how they originally had like Suzu's name, like Belle as in Bell, in English. And then as she became famous, they kind of convinced her to add the E on the end because, as we all know from Beauty and the Beast, Belle, Belle, means beautiful in French. Again, maybe a little bit of hitting the nail on the head a little bit too hard here with the references of the homages, but I personally didn't mind it as much. Um, and her kind of connection and wanting to understand who this dragon character is, not because she is worried, not because she, is anything more than just a good human being. She sees that even in the world of the U, that's created the kind of where you can kind of be yourself but not be yourself. She could tell that there's something different and something affecting this individual called the dragon, or they kind of see. I almost wish they kept it as the dragon, but through the middle parts of the movie, again, they went really hard with the nail on the head and they reverted from dragon to beast. And you get some really great moments of Belle trying to gain the trust of this individual. And I love they maybe went a little bit too far, but I loved how they were trying to figure out in the world who this person could be. And there was a lot of misleads and stuff. I'll be honest, I had my own personal theory on who I thought it would end up being, and I was wrong, and I'm happy I was wrong. Even though I think my theory would have been really cool and a really like touching moment, given how the movie was written. I also loved how this came to be and what it really meant for Suzu and Belle as a character and their journey going on with everything else. In the middle of the movie, though, we have a scene that is almost like, again, hitting the nail on the head really hard with the homage, but such a beautiful scene between the dragon and the character Belle and the U, where they go on this dance. And it is very much of homage and looking to what the original Beauty and the Beast movie was like. And at that time, I was like, okay, you're coming really close to ripping this off. But one reason why it doesn't feel as much as a rip off, because while it's inspired by that, the movie takes so many turns and it separates himself from that main storyline. It takes the element of somebody who is this dragon, this beast, and explains why their character was made that way. Instead of having that curse, so to say, um, as you get in the original story and the movies that you've seen from Disney. Um, and the again, whenever we start hitting off on this third act, when it kind of turns around and you really get Suzu's connection to all of her friends and all of the people supporting her in real life matching up with what the character Bella's going through in the U in that universe, he really takes off into this wrestle story that just has one of the most breathtaking last acts of a movie. I gotta say, coming through that second act, I was like, okay, this is pretty good. I'm enjoying this a lot. It's definitely going to be up there with one of the better movies I've seen recently. But once we kind of get that reveal on who the beast, who Dragon is in the real life form and why they're that way, the movie just, to me, goes to a whole different level. And seeing, how Suzu and Belle interact with that and how the world around her, and it gives her an understanding about her, her people and her family and how they are, and how she needed that kind of journey to find herself as this young teen coming from somewhat of a dark past, very, very doesn't believe in herself, very shy. But through the middle and end of the movie, just becomes such a strong, strong narrative. I was just truly impressed, and I'm not gonna lie, I was very emotionally moved at points, and I was very much pleased with how strong this story and narrative were. One of the things as well that comes with this movie is the music. As Belle and Suzu has a past relationship, with their mom growing up, she kind of learned to love music, but something happened that caused her to kind of steer away in the real world. So when she enters the U, it really was her first time where she was able to give her voice out, and the music of this movie was tremendous. One of the reasons why I love subtitled things, especially with movies like this, is hearing the music in its authentic form and reading the lyrics of it. And I was just telling my mom this as I was driving home from the movie, giving her my thoughts. It was beautiful hearing and the music. The music is beautiful on its own, but reading the actual lyrics and how they met and matching it with the facial expressions that they did with animation, I personally thought was truly breathtaking. And there were parts in some of the songs near the middle and the end where I was feeling very vulnerable. I was feeling very soft, and I matched the tone of all the other people around that were given, and I felt the power of the music through reading the lyrics, but also hearing the songs at the same time. I can't say enough about the music of this movie. I thought it was utterly fantastic. I know there's a lot of great music that have came out this year in other musical forms, whether it be West Side Story, Into the Heights, Encanto, but it's going to be a tragedy if there's no actual songs nominated for for the Oscars from this movie. And I really do hope that this movie gets the attention it deserves, because I honestly think it's one of the better movies I've seen this year during the pandemic all around. It was just a well-made movie, a very well-told story, and it gave a really good message about the positives and negatives of this world that we're in, this very social media, very connected world, what you're able to do and what's good, not good in it, how it can help you, how it can hurt you, how it can show your true colors in the best and worst ways. um, and I can't say enough things about this movie positively. When it comes to my personal recommendations of this movie, granted, like, I'll be honest, I hope everybody can go and enjoy this movie at some point, or give it a chance, because I think it's a beautiful work of art. It's a beautiful movie, and it's something that I truly went in unsure how I was going to feel about it. I'm not a big fan of anime. I haven't put myself too much in the anime world. I'm always iffy sometimes about the Japanese style, because sometimes they're very convoluted in story, but this one felt very simple and easy to follow, and told a really, really good tale using the inspiration from Beauty and the Beast, per se, that original story, but treating it in a whole different light. This was a great way to adapt something, to inspire yourself from something without remaking the same exact story that you got in the original. Um, so I would recommend it to anybody, but if I'm going to break it down, if you're somebody who doesn't like having foreign language films with subtitles and you're not big on dubs per se, even this might not be a movie for you that you want to watch. It hurts me because I think the movie is that high a quality, just like I did with Parasite, where I say like, give this a chance. I know it's in Japanese, I know it's animation, but I think this movie has a very valuable message that can move you. I know I have friends with Parasite where I was like, this is really this won Best Picture because it is the Best Picture, and a lot of them went in not sure, and they've loved it coming out, and I would hope this had the same effect on people out there that are iffy about this. I was iffy, and I went in just coming out wowed. You definitely go and see this if you like anime, animated movies. If you really like watching, foreign films, things from Japan, Korea. Definitely has an Asian influence that I think is very strong. But I overall recommend this movie for just about anybody that wants to go in open minded to a very just rich telling story with some characters that went on a journey. And like I said, it really, at the end of the day, it's a story about the main character Suzu finding herself and understanding where her, why her mother made a decision that she made very early on in her life. Um, and it just did it beautifully in my eyes. One of my favorite movies of the past year. I hope it gets recognition and doesn't get discarded by the Oscars because it's a foreign film. This would be my lead picture right now. I know Encanto was an amazing movie. I know we had some amazing animated movies last year, but this would be my top pick for animation choice. And like I said, the music of this movie was so strong that I really hope they allow it to get some breath and some exposure at the Oscars for at least a Best Music nomination because it was truly phenomenal. And just the subtitles, reading what the lyrics were, seeing what it meant to the characters was something truly beautiful and something that I think a lot of people can connect to. When it comes to my actual ratings for the year, because one of the things I'm doing now is we're going through each movie I watched that came out in America in 2022, which is why I'm wrapping Belle into this because it just came out this weekend. So it's not even though it came out in Japan and a lot of places in 2021, and it's going to be marketed as an Oscar contender for 2021. For me, it came out in 2022. So I'm going to put it on this list, and I think it's something that's going to be here for a good long while. If not, maybe the whole year. We'll see. There's a lot of movies coming out that I'm excited about, but if I'm going to put Belle on that list in my rankings with Scream 5, it's going to be up there at number one right now. It's just to say Scream 5 was bad. I liked Scream 5 a lot. I think Scream 5 could be there for a while, depending on how quality of movies are. But Belle, to me, was one of the best things I've seen this year. Something I truly recommend everybody give a chance and see. It was such a beautiful film. The animation was beautiful. It was, even though it might have been slow and hit the nail on the head with its references with Beauty and the Beast, some parts maybe a little bit too much. I thought the movie was beautifully made, and once it hit that third act, and you get that turn into figuring out who this dragon character is, it just becomes one of the most amazing movies I've seen of late, and I can't recommend it enough. Have you seen Belle? Are you gonna see Belle? Well, if you have or haven't, you can still leave a comment below. Like this video. Subscribe if you want to see more movie reviews. I'm going to be coming out with more and more. Next week, we don't really have any new movies coming out. But who knows? Maybe I'll go check out the 355 and we can get a bottom of the list movie on here because I don't think that's going to be that great. Otherwise, I might not be able to see you here for the next couple of weeks. If you want me to review TV shows, anything else, again, leave that in the comments. Any other movie recommendations? I'm excited to see where this year goes. There's a lot coming out here soon, and honestly, I'm excited to go back to the movies and see all these things. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. I hope you guys have a good day, night, wherever you're at. And until then, see ya.